A very good morning to you from Theben Studios here in Haigerloch. I'd love to make you acquainted with the topic of today. We proudly present TEPIXA, optical presence sensors in our product range. We, myself, Elmar Löffler, and my colleague Christoph Kinsley will convey you through the next 45 minutes. So take 45 minutes to be updated. Yeah, what's the content of today? The content of today is finally this new product, a rather interesting product, I tell you. And you will get some insights. You will get some ideas of application. We introduce you the way how to install. It's a few bit different to a standard presence sensor. I make you acquainted with some technical data, some insights of the ETS you will get, and at least at the end of my part, I'd heard that our marketing director is giving you some insights to all the reasonable marketing activities which will follow now. Yeah, I think it's good to remind our history in regards of the presence sensors. You see on the left-hand side, the legend, the ECO IR, the first presence detector in the market worldwide. He set benchmarks that time. You discover here the first presence sensor, which is supported at that time in the early 19th, constant light control. None of all the sensors, the less few sensors that time could support that. You discover here the flattest presence sensor in the world, meanwhile 11 years old, the first super flat, just 5 millimeters, with a fantastic and mirror technique inside, which was totally unusual that time, and followed by the Tironda flat, the conclusion of all our discoveries, of all our development, approximately 5 years ago. But it's time to go ahead. And we proudly present some new. Oops. You know that picture? This world famous picture from Mr. Simoni. You know that? The symbol of creation. And what if creativity and passion for technique meets, in our case, the creation is TEPIXA. TEPIXA, a fabulous new presence sensor, optical based, fully digital in that terms, and eye candy on its own. Size-wise, you see here, that's the real one. Super flat, but rather powerful in application and new abilities, new possibilities for our future in planning, in prestigious buildings like we do have here in the background, for instance, ideal for open plan offices, for meeting rooms, classrooms, shopping areas, and furthermore, so there are plenty of new ideas which we can cover, plenty of new applications which we can cover with these new sensors. Our target group to address these really new product are sure planners, because these buildings here definitively have to be equipped with new technology, and TEPIXA will support them. So planners have to be involved in this, let's say, presentation and in this first, let's say, introduction. System integrators as well, because we talk about KNX technology, which you see on top of this slide. So the first shot, I think, a good shot. So what is the usage in general, or the application? The application in general is indoor purposes. So this question probably might pop up. Can I use outside somewhere in the car parking or somewhere in some parking lots, however, or in the garden? Mainly we recommend the use it inside of an office, inside in a school, in a shopping area, whatever. The installation height, I think this is an important part which we have to know, is minimum 2.5 meters up to 4.5 meters currently. And what you can discover here in the background, yeah, ceiling installation. Yeah, so you have the full picture, 360 degrees discovery of moves, of presence in a room. And the detection area is not a round, it's not a square, it is rectangle shape. So ideal for offices, ideal for corridors or shopping areas. However, mostly the cut, especially in schoolrooms, is the rectangle. And with this sensor, with these lenses, we cover this perfectly. We can definitively distinguish between moves, walking, and presence. What I'm doing currently, less move, just talk a little bit, but we can distinguish. We can do counting of people, how many came in, how many left the room. However, we can make a kind of statistic out of this. Yeah, can do temperature measuring because it's inbuilt inside of the sensor. And we, like you can discover here, we support fully data secure, which means we do have here the option in the ETS with a badge to integrate this sensor in data secure communication of KNX. And be reminded, all our KNX products which we are heading this year and coming years will definitively from the scratch support data secure, by the way. And what is the idea? What is the approach? You discover here some password. So that means this sensor can be password protected. Why? Fully digitally. Why? You discover here Bluetooth communication to avoid, just as an example, you do have here a schoolroom and some of these smart and clever students downloaded the Tepixa app, and so he can modify, manipulate the function probably, and with password protection, so we can lock that door so nobody unauthorized has any access to modify, to adjust, or to delete anything. I think good to know for you when you talk to the system integrators, when you talk to the planners, the architect, and so on. You discover here some else. You discover here the color, the figure 6 zones. So that means the entire detecting area is not just one zone or two zones, which most of the PIR sensors have, window side, inner side. Here we are talking definitively about 6 zones, which opens us plenty of applications. Ideal for open plan offices, for instance, meeting rooms, and furthermore. We can block zones. You will see later on, I do a live scan and I give you a live introduction about the app, how the app works. You see here a screenshot of it, how it works, how you have to operate with it, and so on. We can do some, let's say, blocking areas. So where probably nothing has to be detected, we can implement that. Heat map means where a gathering, for instance, is, where a concentration is of people, and yeah, data privacy as well, because it is an optical sensor. And optical sensor does not mean it is a camera, but it's an optical sensor. An optical sensor gives a certain image, and this image is certified, specified. Data privacy is confirmed. No doubts about it. Yeah, to specify to specify such a sensor in a project, in a building, then you need to know how is the coverage, how is the installation height. You discover here from 2.5 to 4.5. So if 4.5 meters, which is, let's say, in main lobbies, for instance, or in big conference halls or seminar halls, however, so then we have a coverage of about 100 square meters, which is a lot, finally. Seated area, gentlemen. So, and ladies and gentlemen, sorry. And walking area, you discover here 170 meters. So good enough for big ballrooms. You got it? So what we have to compare, and I think this is important for you because it's a really new approach, PIR-based sensors, optical sensors. PIR, you know, the advantage, there is no active frequency which is affecting your body, for instance. Due to that, the energy consumption is really little. We have to confirm, but we know as well the temperature is sometimes the problem. If you have not stable conditions indoor, so that means the indoor temperature is not climatized, and your body temperature, for instance, the gap between ambient temperature and the body temperature is not more than 4 K, so the PIR sensor definitively is is troubling you because then the sensitivity is not that good anymore. In comparison to an optical sensor doesn't care. It just compares an image which we took at the beginning, and regularly, a few times per second, we do the update, how is the current situation, and we compare it with the situation before. And so we are not related to any kind of temperature issues, no doubts about, big advantage. Depending on the sensors, on the lenses, you know, depend on, let's say, the ability, the detection area. We have rather bulky lenses, not that, but like that, 140 millimeter diameter is nothing which is unusual for PIR-based sensors, and so rather bulky in comparison to, and these optical sensor again. So you see this, it fits perfectly in my hand, so you can imagine how the dimensions finally are. The last couple of years was just light control, PIR-based sensors, light control, constant light control, HVAC supporting, and that's it. On this side of the optical sensors here, you discover, okay, sure, light control, because we need that, and for this purpose we developed finally this optical sensor. We support constant light control, HVAC, sure, but then we have a flexible definition of these areas. Coming back to PIR-based sensors, there you have to use shields. You have to cut it out with a scissor or to take a sticker, put it on the lens, which is not so nice looking, frank speaking. With optical sensor, we specify the area which has to be detected, which has to be taken into consideration for the light control or for the day light control. Counting people with PIR-based sensors, difficult and really not that accurate. Yeah, with the pixel, not the pixel-based, but the optical sensor, finally we can do it rather precise with a certain inaccuracy. That's right, but by far more accurate like PIR-based sensors in the background. Supporting statistic data, what does it mean? Statistic, question mark, data secure, question mark. Yeah, statistic data means We can count people, how many people are in, how often or how many people are in a room, for instance, how is the occupation of a room, how is the density in a room. So we'll use it later on some applications where probably it makes sense to make use of such kind of optical sensors. When it comes to the energy consumption, like mentioned, PIR-based sensors, especially KNX sensors, so consume maximum 10 milliamps to operate, to power the sensor in general. When we talk about the optical sensor, so then in comparison to, it is high or higher. Yeah. So what does it mean, or why is it so? I will explain. So you discover here, we have here a day and we have here a night mode. It is an optical sensor, so you know it's like with a camera. In the darkness, it's always difficult to focus with, for instance, your mobile camera or with a digital camera during the nighttime. So you need additional support from IR diodes, which are giving you additional light. Invisible light, but for the camera, visible light. So this means during the daytime, we have an energy consumption which is about 0.9 watts. During the night mode, we need to ignite, to start these LEDs, which you discover here, which gives you a certain area here, yeah, and then the lens and the electronic behind is able to discover if there is someone moving in the darkness or not. There is an automatism which switches on from day mode or switches over from day mode to night mode. So we talk about approximately 2 lux or such. Then the IR diodes are activating themselves. What does it mean? So it's not a permanent consumption of 1.6 watts, which is rather little, nevertheless, but it's just during the night mode where we consume a few bit more energy like during the day mode. It's just for you, probably more technical skilled people, that you know what is ongoing. But the big advantages are definitively supporting you in a better way. So in regards of personal rights, you listen carefully, okay? It is an optical sensor. So optical sensor makes picture or gives a picture or an image, however. And we tested. We know how we proceed and how we developed, but we give it to a testing laboratory, which is the DEKRA in Europe. And the DEKRA confirms the integrity of the privacy. So that means we have an image, but this image you can't specify that you see people in person, that you discover if there is a blonde person, black-haired person, or a person with glasses, or however, you will not discover. The picture is from the resolution really low, so that you have just a rough image of a person. And this is confirmed by the DEKRA, by this laboratory, and the laboratory certified this. So we keep absolutely your privacy, or the privacy of people in buildings. We count and we support statistics, but we don't show pictures of people. Yeah, when it comes to the security, I mentioned it at the beginning. So all these TPIXAs consuming from the KNX bus 10 milliamps, like specified. So we are in the position that we can put, like in this example here, up to 64 TPIXA in one line, because the consumption from the KNX bus is just 10 milliamps. We need an additional power, which is 230 volt, which you have to power. Otherwise, we can't support this function from the KNX side. So that means we have data secure, if you like. It's not mandatory, but you can. You see the screw terminals. You will see later on, I make you acquainted with the details. And that's it. And we have a clip-in functionality, and that's it. This one is important because in terms of the installation, finally, we have to consider some, and this is finally the scan which we do, that we get finally the grid of the area which we want to detect, which we want to cover. And due to that, the positioning of the sensor is rather important, that you do it right on the sealing side. Probably I can get the camera for a second to show some more details. Oh, thank you so much. So exactly. So what we do have here, we do have here the sensor from the rear side. You discover here top TOP. You discover here this red dot, and probably you can read it. There is a top as well, top signature in this ring, and this has to match. So that means the same direction. So that means now top is here, top is here. I made a red sticker on that, and so we have to put top to top, and then you put it in this flush box, tilt it, and locked it. Yeah. So then the sensor is fixed in this flush mounted, or this flush box in total. To unlock, you discover here there is a small unlocker which you have to press down with a screwdriver, unlock and remove. Why I do have here this green dot? This green dot, it's just to orientate for me, because here inside there is a green LED which lights up during you start the scan, and this gives you orientation as well. So where finally these where you have to position finally the sensor. When you watch to the ceiling, green LED, left hand side, top, the writing in your view, and that's it. This is something which I have to care about, otherwise you have to open and to tilt a little bit and so on. So to avoid that you have a waste of time, this is important. And when you do it right, so then you will have really reasonable fun with it, with the operation. I will do at the end of these 45 minutes, I will do a live scan on this. In regards of the wiring, we have here line and neutral. You know, I mentioned it. So we need power, 230 volt, because this optical sensor inside consumes some energy, and this energy finally is definitively higher than the KNX bus can support us. And we decided to take this 230 volt solution for the first scratcher. Yeah, dimensioning. So you see here, the visible part of the sensor is just 86 millimeters in a square, in the round. And there are different accessories like the sealing clip box or the surface frame, for instance, depends on where you intend to install. So more for the acoustic sealings here, this sealing clip box, or probably for more the concrete sealings to install the sensor on the ceiling, so on the concrete ceiling. So we have the accessories for them available on stock. Yeah, so all together in regards of the application, you have here the reasonable coverage. This is important to know because there are a few less sensors meanwhile in the market from competitors of us, starting with their own new technologies and their kind of installation and so on. Currently 110 degrees of the detection you discover here 360. You have everything of the meeting room, of the school room, and so on the radar. Basically, the light metering, which we have here, is more than good enough. So starting from 5 lux, which is rather dark, up to 3000 lux, we can set. We can deactivate the light metering or light measuring in general, if you like. We can adjust it in terms of delay times, like you know, and we can do as well standby values. So that means when there is no occupancy, when there is no move, no activity in a corridor, for instance, we can send a telegram and go down between 1 and 25%. So why 1%? Meanwhile, we are using in prestigious and modern buildings, we are using just only LED lights. And you know, if you control a LED light with 10 up to 15%, so it's rather bright shining. And due to that, we decided, okay, let's start from 10 to 25%. It's more than good enough to support exactly this application. In regards of HVAC, so just to mention, sure, we support heating, ventilation, and so on with a reasonable delay times. There is no issue. And we can send as well different types of, let's say, HVAC control commands. Could be directly HVAC specified control commands, or it could be just a value to, for instance, to drive a fan stepless or so. It's up to you. In total, the communication between the mobile, between the sensor is Bluetooth communication. There is Bluetooth on board, so that means communication mobile and sensor. What does it mean? You need an app, and the app you will get 1st of May in the Reasonable app or in the Reasonable Play Store. The BLE class or the communication frequency 2.4, like you know, and the burst search, we care about this specific part as well to make the sensor, let's say, unsensitive in terms of impacts from, let's say, magnetic fields and so on. So 4 kV surge is a rather high value. It's currently benchmark, let's say. Yeah, what are the applications? So the applications, for instance, we thought could be ideal for open space, open plan, open space offices, for instance. So then you can really specify with this optical sensor exactly these different working areas, working zones, without any, let's say, shielding or so. We specified with the zone functions, which we do have. Or probably if we do have this one here, we have modified the appearance of the working zone. Probably that we have got some new colleagues and we have to slip a few bit together, so we are more dense in the room. So, and then probably we want to have some individuality in regards of the light control here in the room. So with the zones, we can arrange it in the most best way. Just start the scan. We'll do later on. Yeah, in regards of climate, room climate, you know, this is currently some in nowadays, you know, all the stuff we do have with COVID and so on. So then the room climate, the airing is a really rather important part in our life. Meanwhile, especially for our most beloved kids and so on. So, and if you don't have the technical equipment in a school room, for instance, like a CO2 sensor or a reasonable airing system, so what we can do, how we can do, so with this sensor, with our optical sensor, we can count how many people are in, you know, at the average, okay? So how is the exhausting rate of a person, these small persons here in the background, and so you can count, and you know the volume, and you can calculate, so how is the exchange rate, which we have to respect, and then we can start a kind of ventilation, or probably we have electrical window, electrical movable window, for instance, to start the airing according to the people inside of the room if you don't have a CO2 sensor. Could be an option. In comparison, if we use for such kind of application a PIR-based sensor, so here in this on the left-hand side, open space, so then you have to start to put some stickers or some shields to limitate, or probably you have to rearrange the position of the sensor, which means here in this, let's say, adaptation of this room here as well, or probably, oh sorry, here is, I've forgotten to translate here, and these, let's say, comfortable room climate, you cannot do with peers. Yeah, you can just I/O and that's it, but you can't count, you can't make it in the certain relation how many people are in, and you cannot adapt to that. With the optical sensor, you just do a new scan, you just define a new zone, and that's it. Yeah, you have not to rearrange or to reinstall finally a sensor, a new scan, and the deal is done. In regards of further applications, for instance, the product placement on the left-hand side. So with a heat map, if you have a shop, market, however, and you have such kind of optical sensor, this optical sensor is counting, is creating a heat map, a concentration, a densing of people, yeah, probably of a point of interest, yeah. And if you know, so at that specific spot in a room or in an area, in this shop area, for instance, always the people have a certain gathering. You don't probably not why, but you want exactly to position, to highlight your product in a specific way. You know there is the specific heat map. Okay, then you can optimize, let's say, the arrangement of your product in a shop, however, and this supports you, for instance, in selling of your goods. Efficiency in cleaning, just as an example, if you use such kind of sensor in specific areas, could be a corridor in an airport, could be in the washing rooms, for instance, however, and you can count how many people are there, and then you can arrange that the cleaning staff are coming on site and do the things accordingly, so you can optimize the use and the personal resources, however. Yeah, important now to know. So I just make some screenshots and announcing at that stage. So here, this is the first shot, the first introduction of this product. We take 45 minutes, and this will followed by a more technical orientated webinar, which we have already scheduled, and then you will get more insights, more details in regards of ETS settings and so on. You know here, or you discover here, this is in the ETS a screen, or from the ETS a screenshot. You have here to pre-select, so what is the intended installation height, important for the optic, that we do have here finally the right grid underneath and the right coverage. You discover here as well, so we have here a few of these application settings, so it's just one zone, yeah, and you discover here 35 communication objects, just one zone. You can imagine how powerful this sensor finally is in operation. So what we can do is finally master slave. Sure, we can rename, like you see here, important, especially when it comes to the control of 6 different zones. So then probably it might be good to name these zones, that in the event, probably half a year or a year later, you have to do some rearrangements, that you know exactly which zone is what and which application, which application is linked to this specific zone, for instance. So then we recommend to give these zones a specific name, which you can understand. Yeah, important finally, and this you discover here. We do have here individual switching, sure. We have here parallel switching. We have aura effect, which I will introduce you later on. And we do have here a daylight control or constant light control. However, the reasonable delay times, yeah, you discover here, firstly, delay for motion to presence. You discover here time delay after motion, and you discover here as well time delay after presence. So that means it's not one delay time, which is for all of them, let's say counting. No, here we separate. Yeah, so you can more optimize, yeah, energy efficiency in terms of this application, just as an example. And you have this discovery as well. Here we do have here the option to preset finally the different lux levels in the event of motion. Corridor probably have not to be illuminated, or walking, let's say, activities have not to be illuminated. Such good, like, let's say, seated working activities, for instance. And so you can adjust and select individually. So you discover here some of the writings are not translated. It's directly a screenshot from the database, so we have to update them. But you see, we are already through that. What we can do as well, we have here a so-called free switching as well. This is an option which we do have. And free switching means it's totally independent of, let's say, the brightness. So in the event of there is somebody detected, you can address a totally independent switch control, I or O control. In this case, not a value, but I/O control. These, let's say, master-slave option we do have here. So that means we can address, for instance, or we can decide or design, for instance, a corridor solution. So when you walk just that way down, so the first sensor gives a trigger to the slave. I think you are acquainted with this application. And this becomes, especially when we selected the aura effect, then it becomes rather interesting, because then it's like walking underneath a light cloud. I will try to explain it in such a way. So that means the light is always following your moves. And so you can link together different zones, different sensors with different zones, however, accordingly. And so never be alone. You're always guided by the light. With the light heading, the way where you are walking to is slightly dimming up. When you come in this detection zone, then you get 100%, but the light in your background, where the area which you have left, for instance, is softly dimming down, standby, and then finally switch off. Depends on how you preset this function. And that's the way how you have to address, how you have to link that. And in the manual, nevertheless, in the manual, you will get some more, let's say, examples in terms of applications, how you can address. Yeah, no, HVAC control, like mentioned a few minutes before. So we support the typical switching command, we support the typical HVAC command, and as well, we can send a value, like mentioned, for instance, in order, if you want, for instance, to control a fan speed, stepless, you send just a value in the event of, let's say, presence in a room, and that's it. Dynamic and statistic, yeah, okay, interesting thing. So this means this new function which you get as an added value, which means you can calculate or accumulate, for instance, the amount of people in one zone. You move in the next zone, or there is a move in another zone, so you can accumulate these two. And at the end, you can, for instance, set out of this activity. Example, for instance, a shopping area currently in these COVID times is probably specified due to the footprint to the area, which is about 100 square meters. And in these 100 square meters, maximum 6 people are allowed to be there in the shop. So you can preset in such a sensor, so 6 people. And you have here this shopping area, 6 zones. And so then depends on where the people are walking, moving. and how many people are walking, moving, you can start to give a signal, stop, too much people in that area. So we have to close the shop, for instance, or to close the shop for this moment. However, could be one of the applications. However, you adjust here with the application settings. Yeah, occupancy rate, dancing rate, and so on. All these we support with statistic theory. And I got a signal from the control panel. Almost 45 minutes are over now. So I want to go now to open now my mobile, and due to that, I will share you some less insights with of the app, which we are offering. Be reminded, 1st of May in the app or in the Play Store. You give me please the picture of the mobile. Yes, thank you so much. So I already started the TP-XR plug, and I open now. Okay, again. So let's start again. So open now. So, and this is a scan, and it's the reality. So probably we can get as well the camera from the ceiling so that you see the reality. And then you can really compare. So that's a real situation. So here we are in the studio, monitor, yeah, Christopher here in the background, and the waving hand, hello. Exactly, you see here the table, you see here on the left-hand side, the scan, the picture, you see me here standing in front of the table, and in this scan here on the left-hand side, you just see some colored pixels. I'm there, but you never discover any, let's say, person. You can't see my white shirt, you can't see my glasses, you can't see the less hair here on top of my head. However, so I will do a scan so that you know how it works, how I get such kind of an image. And so watch now on this left-hand side on the TP-XR app, there is a kind of a camera icon. And I start this now, and then you get a messaging. So no person should be in the recorded area. This is one of the parts, finally, avoiding the data privacy. But you will definitely, I'm standing here in person, and I start now the scan. And this is real life. And you can't discover, you can't say it is man, it is woman, it is a dog, it is a cat. No, you cannot. Yeah, now you have the real image here, real life. So the camera here, exactly, and this is the image on the left hand side on your picture. That's real life. And these red and the green colored dots, this means presence, small moves. And you see I'm just slightly moving, and these red dots are jumping from some area to another area. And if I do bigger moves, you see now the green pixels are starting, and the red one here, I take my mouse pointer. This is Christoph on the left hand side, who is giving you waving hands, and due to that we have these on the left hand side of the picture, we do have here red and green colors. Yeah. So well, so the assignment we can here have later on the charts, but I've started now currently this TP-XR app, really new, and due to that I do not have any statistics currently, because started yet and not specified a time frame. Due to that I do not see currently a heat map, but what is of interest probably we have here currently, you see now 33 degrees here inside of this studio here. But don't wonder, we do have here cameras in the area of the sensor. Don't wonder, it's on the ceiling, measured on the ceiling, and there is a camera in close to, and that's the reason why we do have currently a rather high, let's say, temperature measured. But you see here, if you have to do an offset, yeah, and you measure now the real temperature, and you can, if you want, the current real temperature in our area is 23. So you can do, let's say, internal calibration if needed. Installation height. Here you can adjust the reasonable installation height if you have your password and you have the permission finally to open the Tepixa app in general. Otherwise, you can just watch and double check, but not modify. Sensitivity of the sensor, you can select here, you see. And the room definition, which can be here, let's say, yeah, selected between standard and meeting room. What is the difference? Standards, I would like to recommend, for instance, it is working area, so factory or such, where is a lot of move. Then there is important that the light remains on in the reasonable specific areas. Meeting room is more precise in terms of counting people, accuracy in counting. Standard there we have a certain inaccuracy, but we concentrate more of, let's say, the detection himself. Okay, then I go one step further. So, well, and we do have here the control commands. This could be interesting for, let's say, testing if your functions are working. And here we do have the zoning. And the zoning, what we can do now, plus I have here a zone. And I put, for instance, the zone. This is my zone 1. If you want to name it, so if you want to name it, then we can do, this is, for instance, it's a Christoph dashboard. And done. Then I add another zone, which is, for instance, here in this area here. Now, come on. So renaming, okay, I step over, and I want to have another one, for instance, which is here. Always you take these white edges and you pull to the right, to the left, and however. And we can put another one if you want here in the middle. And probably you might have the situation that probably one area troubles you. We do have here, probably you discovered in our studio from the top view, that we do have here a big TV screen in front of us. And TV screens, which we definitively find pretty often in meeting rooms and so on. So they create some reflections, they create some troubles. And to avoid that, so we can specify here in that area a specific zone, and this is a kind of dead zone, like here. So that means here is our TV located, and all the activities which taking place in this currently black or gray zone here are not taken into account, neither to motion nor to presence. Okay. And I confirm that. And I open here these 3 dots, settings. And if you want to give these software a pin code, so you can do it accordingly. Yeah. So just that you have a first rough idea, so we can go to the standard presentation back. Thank you so much. And so we can give you now, let's say, a rather good recommendation in terms of, let's say, a powerful sensor, if this is just a backdoor in the KNX shop, we can download a ETS app. So anytime we can update the firmware if required. This is something which is pretty new. And be reminded, the zoning, the free zoning, the adaptation of the brightness, and so on, the standard meetings, the meeting room specifications or the working zone specifications and so on can be adjusted whenever. The heat map, this is important, then I have to come to the end. So the heat map has to specify so how long, from which day or which time starting till, so you can specify in which time range, for instance, you want to have this chart, and all these things I want to make you acquainted in the next heading webinar, which we will have, which is more practical orientated, which is giving you more insights about the TPIXA. So the positioning for all these, I heard the marketing director wants to announce, wants to tell you some. My day or my session, 45 minutes. It's elapsed now. Okay, I want to remind you, we will definitely have this contrast sensor 19th of May. Then we go more in the details, more specifically in the ETS, in the app, and so on. And then we take probably a little bit more time than 45 minutes. Be excited and be further on follower of the Teben channel. Bye.
Hi, can you guys hear me now? Axel here. Yeah, thumbs up. Christoph and Elmar, can you hear me?
Yes, okay. We can hear you.
Maybe I might go back to the marketing slide. Perfect, this one.
This one.
Yeah. So Axel here. So thanks for joining. Excellent presentation from Elmar. I think there's a lot of information, a lot of details that need to be shared now in the course of the next coming weeks. A lot of things are in preparation, and what is the timeline now? We are pre-planning now with the, so this was today the first real training. In 1 hour we will do the German part as well. 1st of May we will have the landing page, so Teben in English and in German online, so that you can find all the new and the latest information. Our guys in the Messebau, they are just doing the suitcases, because you saw it perfectly from Elmar today. You need to show this product. You need to get the live demo of this product. You need to explain a lot with this new technology and functionality. So this is for sure something that you need to do, and so all our salespeople should be equipped with this TPIXA, and we find a nice way how to also make a let's say flexible installation even on the ceiling. So getting into the customer, getting it on top of on the ceiling, and then showing it live in the TPIXA app together with a PowerPoint. There is a PowerPoint in German and a PowerPoint available in English that also will be ready and published starting 1st of May. We will have installation videos in German and in English. So because as Elmar highlighted, this this 230 volt, this bayonet installation, the KNX bus, this is something special. So we have to train them, and we also have to train how to demount the stuff. So there will be technical questions coming up. There will be a video showing also the ETS part, and for sure there will be a complete marketing campaign with different key visuals, with different videos addressing certain target groups, because the planner will have a different interest than the system integrator, than the owner of the building, than the person that is using this office. And we will make separate clips addressing and approaching the needs of the different persons. So this is a fantastic product and a new way of application, and a great opportunity to get our detection and lighting offering into the minds of the heads of our customers, of our planners, of our systems integrators. So for sure there will be social media, for sure there will be newsletter, we will have a press release. So give us a little bit of time. It will all be ready in the next, let's say, 2 to 4 weeks. The ETS app will, the ETS information will be published. The app will be in the app stores. So there's a lot of tiny detailed work that needs to be done. And as mentioned, today was the first information to you, to our salespeople in the world, what this fantastic product can do. Okay, and therefore I give back to the hot studio of Haigerloch.
Okay, see you guys.